For the first time since 2011, Israel and Syria are sitting at the negotiating table together, for better or worse. But what's being discussed behind closed doors is absolutely wild. The whispers that are leaking through will shock you. After Assad's regime collapsed back in 2024, Syria's new leadership found themselves facing a militaristic neighbor that had just bombed their entire military infrastructure to rubble, flattened the whole damn thing. I made a series of videos actually, which I'll re-upload to YouTube at some point, or you can scroll through mindlessly and try to go back to my videos before the Israel-Iran conflict. It's all there, right? I've been doing this for months before Israel-Iran. Anyway, Israel spotted the vulnerability of Syria when the Damascus government fell last year, and they took action. Hundreds of airstrikes completely decapitating successfully the Syrian military capabilities. As a result, today, Israel isn't particularly worried about Syria's current capabilities. They've made sure they are absolutely toothless. Toothless. I'm not sure if the subtitles work there. Anyway. They want more. Israel wants an ironclad guarantee that Damascus won't drift back into Iran's orbit over time and oppose the Israeli state, as may very possibly happen if Israel can't get these guarantees. The best way to ensure this, in Israel's view, is to get Syria to normalize ties, open up trade, get Syria to basically integrate with the Israeli economy as much as possible so they cannot oppose Israel in the future without having to rip the carpets out, essentially. And by then, Israel's obviously got a very capable infiltration and intelligence branch. They're going to just fully, they can fully take control, essentially, or they can get into the cracks and make sure that, if this country revolts against us or goes the wrong way, we've got our agents in place. Let them get, the objective is let them get settled like Turkey and the Gulf monarchies. Let them get comfortable with our presence, even though, we're very different from the local customs and the nations present in the Middle East. Let them get used to it and will not feel threatened by them as much in the future. That's the Israeli geopolitical mindset here, basically. Syria, meanwhile, is in survival mode. Very different situation for it. They can't afford another war with a powerful US-backed neighbor that basically has diplomatic immunity. War crimes? Forget about it. International law doesn't apply. I'm a witch. I'm a rich Western outpost. Even in the middle of my joke, I flopped. Oh my God. You guys will forgive me, I know, because you're amazingly supportive. Okay. So Syria negotiating from extreme current weakness, but with some shocking proposals nonetheless. Oh my God, nearly spilled my tea. According to leaked reports, Syria is demanding as one option, there's a couple of options floating around, but Syria is demanding as one option, or floating the idea of one option, that 1/3 of the occupied Golan Heights, Syria just gets back straight away. This is all of the Golan Heights is Syrian, but Israel's occupied it for decades. So Syria is saying, here's the deal. You give me 1/3 back. But they're also asking for sovereignty over parts of northern Lebanon, including the city of Tripoli. This is the northernmost city, and areas of the Bekaa Valley. This is also in the northeast. Think of this this claim as basically the top third of Lebanon. Syria just wants the top third of Lebanon. Syrian sources claim these territories were, quote, severed from Syria during the French Mandate, end quote. We'll get to that later in the video. And should be restored back to Syria. First of all, has anyone asked Lebanon? Oh God. I don't know whether to laugh or cry sometimes with geopolitics. Has anyone actually asked Lebanon? The answer is, not that I know of, for sure. But geopolitics, guys, we are here to learn it, right? And how geopolitics works is, those who can will do what they can, right? If they can get away with it, good stuff. Those who can't stop them will let it happen. They're forced to. International law? More like international lol for the losers? No. So the proposed deal gets even more complex, by the way. Israel would potentially lease parts of the Golan Heights from Syria for 25 years, right? So the 2/3 that Israel keeps, Israel agrees, okay, we're just leasing it from you. So we're still going to build on it. We're still going to control it. But we'll call it a lease so that, technically we acknowledge your sovereignty still remains on this, but we're going to keep it anyway. And they also, Israel, want to gain access to the Euphrates River water through a Turkish-mediated pipeline agreement. this war is going to take some serious impact in the next few months, I'm sure, with all the stuff I've got to report. Parts of the Golan Heights could become a peace park or a joint economic zone between Israel and Syria. You see, this is the integration I'm talking about. They want their tendrils to sort of intermingle with the Syrian state so that, they keep them in check, essentially. They keep a stranglehold on the Syrian state. Wherever it goes, Israel knows, right? So, they can react in time if needed. Now, the US is actively mediating these talks and the deals that are floating around, with both Netanyahu and Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara showing surprising flexibility, for better or worse. Okay, I'm not judging. I'm just reporting it to you. Oof. Now, something that Israelis are welcoming is Ahmed al-Shara's flexibility, feeling that, wow, this new Syrian leader is wonderful. He's not asking for the stolen land. I mean, he's not asking for the Golan Heights to be returned. What a mad lad. Why aren't all Arabs like this guy? Arabs and Muslims, on the other hand, most other people globally, to be honest, will be outraged, especially at the perceived audacity of using parts of Lebanon in the barter. Lebanon's catching diplomatic strays and is wondering what the hell's happening. Like, what? How are you selling parts of me? You're not even talking to me. How am I part of the bargain? I'll get to that later in my next video on the geopolitical state of Lebanon. It's overdue. I've just not had time, guys. There's so much happening, guys. Help me monetize YouTube, guys. Then I can sort of do this full time and it'll be so much easier for all of us. Link to my YouTube in the TikTok bio. Subscribe. Anyway, here's the reality check. Syria is negotiating from a position of absolute weakness. Geopolitically, I want you to understand what's going on. Their military is destroyed, their economy is shattered after 15 years of civil war, and they desperately need sanctions to be lifted from them, from the US-backed, Western bloc, which the US has agreed to on the insistence of the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. So Syria can either negotiate practically, and those deals would look horrible on paper. You'll be like, brother, what's that, brother? When you see the deal, you're like, what's that? What's that, brother? But they are realistic, right? They're pragmatic. Realpolitik means you have to be practical and selfish for your state. Now, they can do that, or they can do what's right and potentially get completely invaded and absolutely flattened further by their violent neighbor. And then, Syria's population might suffer even longer. They might, not be in a position to have their economy flourish, have Western sanctions lifted. It'll be like the pressure Iran faces, but without the resilience Iran has, right? Because Iran has some stuff that can push back. Syria, absolutely not, sir. Absolutely not. Way ho nozo. I mean, no way Jose. Wow, that was weird. Okay. So you choose between, being practical and the deals are terrible if you're Syria, or the alternative is you do what's, right, but then you're absolutely stomped into the ground. Choose to get stabbed in the gut or shot in the thigh. It's your choice. It's not a pretty choice. It's not a pretty set of options, but no one else will give it to you the way I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you straight, guys. I'm giving it to you hot. Israel holds, on the alternative, all the cards at the moment, but wants long-term security guarantees. Now, whether Lebanon gets carved up in this process remains the biggest question mark in the Middle East right now. Maybe the second biggest, actually, because, Iran. Now, the outrage from Lebanese at the audacity of Syria is understandable, but we're here to understand how the game works. So maybe one day, you or your friends or your kids, you teach this stuff to, you can teach them this so that they can become, or you can become, a capable player in the game, and you can make the impact you want. And understanding the game means you must go beyond the knee-jerk reactions of, Tripoli will forever be Lebanon. Like calm down, I get that. But let's go back, briefly touch on the fact that Lebanon is in fact a country that the French sort of lopped off Syria after the First World War. It was so insignificant. They said, what should we name this country? Oh, look at that imposing mountain over there. What is the name of mountain called? And they were like, Mount Lebanon. Okay, this country will be Lebanon. Yeah, no, where's my baguette? So there is some history here, and in fact, all of Syria and Lebanon joined up. It wouldn't be carving up. It would be, one could argue, more like unification. We'll get to all of that in the next video and the future videos and history without the spin. later. I've run out of time.